So Islam Makhachev has been saying he wants Kamaru Usman next. He's made it pretty clear. And not everybody is excited about this. Some people are with it, some people are not. And honestly, I'm kind of stuck in the middle because it does make sense, but then it doesn't. I'm looking at the rest of the division and going, well, what about him? What about him? What about Michael Morales? Because Morales looks massive at 170. I would love to see Islam try and wrestle Michael Morales because that's the kind of matchup where you don't get to talk about easy. We've just never seen Islam matched up where he wasn't the weight bully. It was usually the other way around when he was at lightweight. Now, this would be Morales being the weight bully and Islam looking like he's in the wrong division. But here's the thing. This Islam versus Usman fight, it has a lot of smoke around it. I think it's already a done deal. Even Carlos Prates said that that's what he's been hearing. But not just him. A lot of people at 170 have been talking about this fight ever since Islam took the belt. So right now, it feels like this is the only fight we're going to get. It's the only fight that's being talked about for him. And Morales is already rumored, in case you missed it, to be fighting JDM next at the White House. So, okay, cool. Kamaru's next. But is this really a perfect legacy fight? Or is it just a convenient one? Usman is suddenly the guy now. But before this, I'm not giving him a title shot over Morales. Not over Ian Gary. Not right now. So let's start with what we're seeing publicly. Islam is calling for Usman, right? And it looks like the UFC is warming the audience up to it because Dana is already calling Kamaru the welterweight GOAT to his face on his podcast with Henry Cejudo. And I agree with that. Usman has a real GOAT case at 170. Now, I wasn't around for GSP. I didn't get to witness him. That was before my time. But Dana was there, and he was there for the whole GSP era. So when Dana says Usman is the GOAT, that kind of matters. Now, do I think it's partly promotion? Yeah, of course. But I also think Dana does believe that. So the UFC clearly understands this pitch. Former pound-for-pound king versus current pound-for-pound king. That's like a dream. But then you get to the part that everybody knows. Usman is past his prime. How past his prime? That's the real question. Is Usman washed or is Usman still dangerous? Or somewhere in between? And here's where the conversation gets lazy. Because I swear to God, some of these people act like Usman is washed. But I'm not fully convinced of that. Because when you do put it like this, he beat Joaquin Buckley back in June. Before that, he hadn't had a win since late 2021, which is why this decline narrative exists in the first place. But then when you put it like this, we all remember the infamous Leon Edwards head kick that had left Usman acting funny. If you know, you know. All he had to do was lay on the ground for the last 30 seconds, and he would have won 50-45. So that changed everything. Then in the rematch, it felt like Usman showed Leon too much respect. Instead of fully imposing himself in his style, he didn't. He could have easily beat Leon. But he didn't do what he needed to do in the rematch. Plain and simple. And then he takes a short notice fight, up a weight class, against a monster. And honestly, he didn't look bad in that fight. Not at all. Many people, and I believe this too, if that fight was 5 rounds instead of 3, then we might be in a different timeline right now. If that had happened. So when you lay it out like that, I'm not sitting here thinking Usman is a free win. Not even close. I actually think Usman can make this competitive. And I'll go a little further and say Usman could beat Islam. Keyword could. That's the key word, could. Because stylistically, Usman is one of the few guys who can fight Islam without looking like he's going to drown. Real wrestling background. real top control experience, real clinch strength, and because of that wrestling credibility, he's got years and years of fights just working those stand-up reps and during his championship run. So yeah, older Usman isn't a walkover. But here's Islam's quote and why I don't fully understand it. Now, Islam has been saying Usman is the toughest matchup for him. And he also said something like, nobody's checked these new guys at welterweight. And I've got two reactions to that. First, if we're talking toughest matchup, I still think Michael Morales is the matchup that's the biggest unknown for Islam. We're talking about size, reach, power, height, all advantages for Morales. That dude looks like he belongs in a different weight class. I don't think Morales needs to be checked by anyone but you, Islam, yourself. Second, if Islam means the division has new faces, well, okay, sure. There are guys climbing fast, but that's the point here at 170. 170 is stacked. There are too many killers. And that's why I keep coming back to this question. If the division is the hottest division in the sport, why is Islam and his camp acting like there's nowhere else to look? Michael Morales, bro. I know you don't want to look past Usman, but at least mention Morales. And this brings me to my next point, actually, the Joaquin Buckley point. Beat Usman and retire. Joaquin Buckley comes in with that take, and he made a point there. He said if Islam beats Usman, Islam should retire because that's going to be the final legacy piece. Beat the welterweight GOAT and ride off into the sunset. And I get what he's saying. If Islam beats Kamaru Usman, that's basically a mic drop for your legacy. But I don't think Islam should retire after that. Because if you beat Usman and then disappear, you're essentially pulling a I'm out before the young killers get their shot. Another John Jones moment. I mean, not just one contender, it's multiple. Morales, Ian Gary, Shavkat. I could throw a few more in there. The division is full of names. So Usman can be a major chapter in your legacy, but it shouldn't be the final page. So here's the reason this fight happens now. Here's the argument for doing Usman first. Even if you think Morales is the deserved fighter, which, again, I do, but Usman's clock is ticking. Not even as an insult, just reality. Those knees, the miles, the time, everybody has an expiration date. And sometimes it comes sooner than you expect. So if you're ever going to do Usman versus Islam, it's in this window right now. Because it's a rare matchup where both names mean something historically. Yeah, Kamaru isn't peak Kamaru right now, and Islam is, but both have held pound for pound status. Both are iconic for different reasons. And if Islam is thinking like his brother Khabib, win this fight, cement your legacy, leave with the perfect story, then the Usman fight fits that almost exactly. And I'm not saying Islam is definitely retiring soon, but that's a valid concern, especially if this ends up being like at the White House card. Islam would get a massive check for a legacy super fight, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend retirement wouldn't cross his mind. I mean, I'd retire faster than you could cut that. So here's my final take. Morales should be next, but Usman happens first. I think Morales should be next. That's the fresh, dangerous, prove you're the champ at 170 fight. But I also understand why the UFC would do Usman first. Because Usman, his window is smaller. And the UFC loves legacy. So I think they make Islam versus Usman. But I'm saying right now, if Islam beats Usman, I really don't want to hear retirement talk until he fights at least Morales. Fight him, and personally, I'm cool. You can retire. But if you fought Shavkat too, that'd be awesome. Just go beat a young killer answer the questions, own the division, because beating a legend is incredible. But defending against the next generation is what makes you undeniable. I mean, you're already undeniable, but if we're talking GOAT status of the entire sport, I don't think Usman gets you there convincingly. Islam is great, but I still think you would need a little bit more on that resume. And I'm just going to say this. Imagine if Usman wins, the entire sport gets flipped on its head. That storyline there is crazy. Former pound for pound king comes back and beats the current pound for pound king. Bro, I can only imagine. But there's no question, we'd get a rematch, but only if Usman doesn't retire himself. So, what do you guys want? If you could pick Islam's path at 170, who do you want him to fight before he hangs it up? Usman, Morales, any other names before he retires? And who wins? Islam versus Usman, if it happens, drop it in the comments. And if you made it this far, please like and subscribe. Please help the channel grow. I really appreciate it so much. Thank you, and bye.